Christopher Peter Review is made for me and you. An economic perspective, completely objective. The Review, for the way you see the world.
Welcome. Value is such a dynamic idea, as we have shown in this episode. People have value in themselves, and there is an importance to make sure that we all have a chance to understand and maximize our value. Too many people limit their opportunities or outcomes because they do not accurately value their abilities, contributions, or achievement. Value is an important economic and commercial concept. The ability to understand what companies offer you and their goods and services is important to be able to make the right decisions in your everyday economic choices. Value brands do not operate differently than traditional brands, just the marketing approach differs. We discuss the importance of seeing beyond the messaging. Speaking of messaging, we discuss the truth in our politics and why voters need to be observant and use common sense. Finally, Christopher Peter discusses the NFL draft. Now, let us begin.
What is value? That is a concept that everyone, whether you are a business person or an everyday individual, wants to attain. In many ways, it can be somewhat dynamic depending on the individual, the unique needs, wants, and expectations, the various situational factors that each individual faces compared to others. These can all be very different. For most people, they view value in the perspective of monetary or economic, the amount you get for what you pay or the amount of effort in exchange for what you are compensated. The traditional framework of the concept of value. The goal is to either get the most for each dollar you spend, or get the maximum amount of dollars for each unit you sell to a customer. Maximizing value is not greed. There is a political view that everything done to improve efficiency and returns is automatically greed, but that is not true. There are opportunity costs that have future impacts if you do not become more efficient over time. Lost opportunities to secure revenues needed to fuel growth of your operations or to maintain adequate staffing levels. I will talk more about the topic of greed in the future, but it does not apply to a person or organization wanting to be more efficient with their operations or their spending. We all should want to maximize our value chains. We should view many economic events in the framework of the value of the exchange, not just utility at the moment. Consider that you have an offer to buy 2 cheeseburgers for the price of 1. There is a monetary value in a sense you are getting more product for the same exchange of money. One may see it as they are getting more calories needed without additional expenditure. Or someone may see it as now they do not have to worry about planning the next meal as they have 2 meals for the price of 1. Another framework of value is the quality of what you are getting. Maybe I do not want 2 cheeseburgers, as people generally are not going to give you an additional unit of anything that is actually high quality. Maybe I value having a better quality of beef, more toppings, or style that is unique to my preferences. Or maybe give a better nutritional product for a slightly higher price. So do you understand what your value propositions are in life? Do you prefer salary paid over flexible schedules? Is advancement or a challenging work environment more appealing? Over time we understand what we value most, as life experiences make us constantly re-evaluate what we need most. At certain times, you may value earnings over leisure. When you have a family, you may value being home over trying to impress a manager that could care less. Until there is a need, you may not ever question that pursuit of office recognition. Key events really help provide us clarity of what we need in this era, and then we must re-evaluate. It is important to know your value in life, personal and professional, and make sure you maximize it to the best of your ability. It does not make you greedy or materialistic. It makes you smart and efficient. Do value brands actually provide you better value? You generally get what you pay for. At the same time, you could be paying for the marketing around the business rather than the quality behind the actual product that you receive. And that is what you are really trying to avoid when you are a cost-conscious or value-driven consumer. I am more value-conscious overall than brand name-centric. My general philosophy is that the extra you pay for brand value does not adequately provide you with enough utility to justify the additional cost. Many times the generic or mass commercialized option can provide you with what you need at a far lower cost point. And you may even be able to have more than one while still saving money. There are some areas where I make exceptions. Like electronics, for example. I have a preference for brands that offer the latest technology. In this space, the quality difference is comparable because it is tangible and measurable. You can compare a Samsung product that usually has innovation against an Apple product that is highly user-friendly. From an operational perspective, Companies that cater to the value conscious are somewhat pigeonholed in a position where they are not well suited to be the innovator of their respective market. They are essentially waiting for their market-leading competitors to produce a new product or service and then find a way to offer a lower-cost, similar alternative to the market leaders. Many times it may take a bit before a suitable substitute is discovered. Or sometimes they may be impacted by intellectual property protections and have to wait until the generic period starts. By doing so, they position themselves behind the competition. The market leaders get the premium on their returns, which they can use on marketing, but on product development and market testing. That disadvantage can prove troublesome beyond just for product development or market positioning. The value brand will have less available funds to invest in its operations, which it maintains at a lower level in hopes of passing off the savings to the value-conscious customers. Facilities may not be as extravagant. For many value brands, you may not visibly see the effects of cost-cutting, unless you are a brand as something like personal service or hospitality, industries where the customers are immense in the low-cost environment, where they can judge exactly whether the savings impacts their experience. It's hard to tell the difference between store brand peanut butter from name brand, but you can tell the difference between a discount hotel and other options. Do you feel equally satisfied with a Motel 6 as you would with a Hilton, Marriott, or any other hotel chain? Maybe for a night for a business trip or an unplanned night stay, but not for a planned vacation, especially if you have family with you and need the comforts to make sure that young ones are not agitated. For a while I thought value hotel brands were the lowest price on the market, when in reality, there are better rates at the more mid to high level if you search discount sites or promotional pricing. Being a value brand helps position the company in the minds of consumers, but the actual practice may not true. Another area where value brands are appealing is the market for fitness. For many people who are looking to lose weight, get in better shape, or just be more active, there are now many value chains of gyms that offer low monthly costs and convenient network of locations. Especially in the beginning, you may not want to invest what may be a considerable amount of money each month in something you are not familiar with or comfortable in. So chains like Planet Fitness, Blink, and others offer an affordable introduction to the path of fitness. First, I need to point out that the gym business model is built on large book of business with low utilization. Have people sign up for monthly membership and have only a fraction of that actually become regulars. The goal is that fee is low enough that people will not be mindful of it to cancel. Sure, they want to be the source of your fitness goals, but ideally they will not have to invest in maintenance, crowding issues, or other challenges that come with locations that exceed capacity. They will deal with those issues in January and early February before people eventually drop off. I will be transparent as I am a member of Planet Fitness, a black card holder for almost 2 decades at this point, and it is convenient, but I do sometimes question whether or not investing in another gym with better amenities would be worth it. In many locations, the issues with equipment failures is impactful. Quality of facilities in terms of cleanliness is far from consistent, and televisions are not personalized like other gyms. Rarely is sports shown, but the buffoonery of M, S, N, B, C, and C, N, N are broadcast. If you have a black card, you are told that you can go to any gym in the nation, which is true, but after a certain amount of visit they will have to enter codes to allow you in. Annoying and holds the lineup. Other gyms have mobile check-ins or self-scan. Some Planet Fitness do have their version of self-scans, but having to wait for high schoolers to pay attention wastes time. So sometimes I question, is the money I perceive to be saving worth the annoyances? But there are locations that I enjoy going to and get great workouts in without overcrowding, rowdy people, or equipment issues that other locations are plagued with. Back to the original question, do value brands provide value to the consumer? To some degree, value brands do provide tangible savings for consumers that weigh the cost of the good or service over the scope of functionality or amenities, which can be irrelevant to consumers not seeking every bell and whistles available. I think consumers just need to verify that they are getting the savings available, as many times the perception may not actually meet the reality. Keep in mind that value brands are not offering any discounts to their value chain, as their investors still expect efficiency, returns, and growth. Workers still want to be compensated in the same manner as anyone performing the same function. Do not just trust that they are providing the best value. Shop around and benchmark them.
Evaluating value from the consumer market needs to be done in a more mathematical approach. How many units am I, the consumer, receiving per each dollar spent? This will help get past the marketing and promotions. Also helps to understand what you really want to receive versus what can you go without. For instance, one of Chris's trips to Milwaukee showed him that saving money with Motel 6 was not worth the risk. Paying a bit more for significantly better accommodations across the board. Saving what came out to be less than $100 to find out that the location was used for housing illegal immigrants waiting for transport could not have been worth it. Value is not just about the outlay of money, but what you are getting and have access to. Planet Fitness offers a wide enough array of equipment for a person to get in shape. While it is not a designer gym or specialty operation, it can meet the needs of accessing equipment that will help you improve your body and meet your health goals. If you are seeking classes or personal training, then you either have to find the right location or find the right gym chain that offers that more consistently. Like an LA Fitness that has pools, classes, and other amenities for a slightly higher monthly price. But the promotional pricing is similar to a Planet Fitness. Understand the whole value proposition. The quality of product, service, and even basic factors like staff behavior, cleanliness, and consistency. These should all factor in the value equation. You are spending your hard-earned money regardless of your income bracket. Make sure you know what you are getting and if the offer meets your needs and delivers what was promised. Politics should be about policy, ideas, and results. Not just the manufactured love or hate for the people elected to do the work on behalf of the American people. Americans have a difficult choice in November and have learned last year that some campaign messaging cannot be trusted. If we want an American economy that grows for all, not just the fringe, global peace, and domestic safety, we need to make the right choice. When you set aside the hysteria, all the rhetoric, and the competing messaging, you will see in a little over a year, there has been efforts to rebalance global trade in a meaningful manner, which has been an issue for decades. There is no potential for real peace in the Middle East, once current tensions are resolved. Our diplomatic and economic enemies are experiencing their greatest challenges as their networks have been disrupted. On the domestic front, our economy has seen a boost, despite some challenges with tariffs and the Iran situation. We have seen many of our communities experience somewhat of a revival as efforts to address crime have made some areas safe for people to walk around in. Our American taxpayers are finally having some relief as finally the government is getting an audit, exposing the levels of grift that has diverted tax dollars to the progressive causes, action groups, and the politicians themselves. Looking at the record instead of the people, you will see that many positive things have happened since the change of power. In spite of the messaging that the progressives are trying to make you believe, we are actually experiencing an America where citizens will be the focus of our society and economy. Where you, the person, is the factor of your success, not whether you fit in this demographic class or fringe group. Sure, there have been opportunities for improvement or for better optics, but that is because the media has covered for the causes that necessitated the enforcement actions underway now. They covered for the flights, the busing, and train rides done in the middle of the night to aid and abet illegal immigrants to find cover at the expense of the American taxpayer. If you questioned it, you were deemed racist or all the other ists. When these officials were simply one word: criminal. Are we supposed to believe that the party trying to give everyone a voice and protect free speech is the side against democracy? The same people making that accusation were the same people cajoling social media to silence legitimate claims, questions, and objections in favor of what turns out to be disinformation and misinformation from the prior administration. Are we supposed to believe the people making claims about our president now? The same people who blatantly lied about the condition of Joe Biden and covered up who was actually running the White House. They want to talk about democracy, but they were the ones who thwarted democracy and tried to silence and jail their opposition. The same people that ushered in the worst inflation crisis in modern history wants to pretend like they know about affordability. Think about it for a second. They want to raise taxes on everyone and then give perks to preferred political demographic groups and fringes. That does not lower the cost of living. It is like taking $10 out of your right pocket and putting $1 in your left and claiming you are better off. Virginia is the case study for why you cannot trust the Democratic Party. The rhetoric they are spewing all across our nation, especially in California, is crystal clear that they do not stand with Americans. They believe we just got in wrong or not smart enough to believe their lies and Soviet ideology. They are not for the average American. They stand against any agency that exists to protect the rights, security, and well-being of Americans. They are not hiding it. People are just listening to the storytelling and not looking at the reality. Sometimes stories are a great cover when the facts, evidence, and reality are not convenient for your views.
There is a common theme amongst politicians on the American left. No matter what the American voters tell them in election results and polling, they only select what is beneficial to them. Everything is a result of a conspiracy theory, a side effect of ignorance amongst the people who hold those views, or the message is not resonating. It is never the fact that Americans do not want higher costs of government, do not want criminals living amongst us, do not want tax dollars being spent on altering our children or funding the desires of the fringe, who should bear the cost of their own behaviors. If you speak out, you must be MAGA or defective in some way. They ignore the facts because the messaging is more of their focus. That is what dishonest people do. There could be issues with perceptions, but you must ensure that negative results are not the reasons for those perceptions. I cannot trust a leader or person not able to acknowledge the need for change, either by changing policy or people or simply stating they were wrong. For progressives and Democrats, responsibility is always projected outward. It is never their fault despite the paper trails. The direct results of their policies, behaviors, and politics are passed off as a right-wing conspiracy, force majeure, or phenomenon. When it is simple, they cause the problem. Politics does involve some level of deflection, but it is exclusive to Democrats to never admit fault and double down on an agenda that Americans consistently oppose and that opposition is strengthening. Rather, they will focus on making a better lie, as we saw in Virginia or New Jersey, where their word salads distract from the record and policies championed. And now residents of both states are suffering. The original case study for Trojan horse politics was Joe Biden, an apparent centrist that governed as a far leftist. In reality, we do not know how often he actually governed because they are not willing to be honest. Now, the progressive base has taken over the party and fully embraces what most people with any sense sees as the same policies that Soviets championed, the same proven failures that we know never worked. It did not work for the Soviet Union, Russia, Cuba, Venezuela, or any nation that foolishly abided by those principles. Why do you think they are reliant on young naive people to try to influence political decisions? Because they know eventually most of these individuals will grow out of that ignorance. Once they start careers, families, businesses, and experience life, they will realize what most in the middle and center right or left already knew about the progressives. Why do you think they want to import illegals and then give them the ability to impact our politics? Because they need people they can coerce. In the same manner that organized crime operates, find something and exploit them for personal or political gain. Republicans at times have been too base-focused, but now they really need to be the big tent party and welcome in the disenfranchised moderates and center-lefts who align with the overall ideas of opportunities, community, and peace. We may have differences, but we all can agree that we stand against the Soviet agenda. The annual NFL draft is almost as popular as the Super Bowl. It takes the wind right out of the first round of the basketball and hockey playoffs. No other league can generate excitement of hiring decisions like the National Football League, whose every event is the biggest moment in sports, the only all-year-round sport in the world. The interesting part of sports draft is the best player in the sport gets to go to the worst team from the prior year, maintaining competitive balance to a certain degree. The flaw in that could be that the organization is losing for more reasons than simply the lack of talent, which we have seen teams have top picks in back-to-back years. And some troubled franchises do not always have the top pick, but have a long resume of struggle. And that is true of this year's team with the top overall pick, the Las Vegas Raiders. The Raiders have struggled to find stability as a competitive franchise. Investments in coaches have not worked out for reasons outside of game action. Players have not stayed healthy enough at times to compete. After last year's reset of bringing in Tom Brady to the ownership group led to another reset, the Raiders seem to have finally positioned themselves to be able to see light and dig out of the division basement. They signed Nakobe Dean right out from under my Eagles, added other stars, and ended up retaining Max Crosby. So, heading into the draft, they made moves that should elevate the team. In the draft, they added their quarterback in Fernando Mendoza, who is coming off an undefeated season and collegiate national championship. He will join the newly rebuilt roster and have the opportunity to learn behind Kirk Cousins, a high-skilled veteran who has had a good football career, and clearly the best business mind amongst players, but a person that plays the game the right way, has great character and has experience being the faces of franchises before, and dealing with adversity with class. Still, there are no guarantees of instant success in football, especially with the most important and challenging position in all of sports. Many media pundits and former athletes turned media talk about how the position is overvalued, but there is no other position in sports that directly impacts the outcomes of games and seasons like the quarterback. As a result, teams will overdraft quarterbacks because there is a need to secure critical talent when the need arises, and teams will need to put them on the field as soon as possible before they sign the biggest contract that sits on their team's salary cap. There may be better players talent-wise, but those players are directly dependent on their quarterback, who is only indirectly dependent on them because of the structure of the game. There is a good chance the Rookie of the Year will come from a host of other players because they will have a better chance of seeing the field sooner. If not Week 1, Jeremiah Love, out of Notre Dame, will probably be starting for the Cardinals Week 1. Makai Lemon may be starting or at the very least playing Week 1 for my Philadelphia Eagles, and those talented Ohio State receivers will be out there as well. But Mendoza will most likely be the highest paid and potentially the longest career out of all of them simply because of the position and his potential. In every draft, there is a great deal of optimism to some degree. Teams may point out that they got every pick they wanted, even if they did not. Fans may celebrate that their team got every player they want, but we really will not know how impactful the draft will be until a few years later. Players do not all develop the same manner and on the same timeline, but we can project whether the team addressed their needs. The Dallas Cowboys did a good job of adding talent where they needed it most. Obviously, I am not a fan of them, but I will give credit where credit is due, and they did draft well. This obviously is happening in the cloud of uncertainty that they created right before the draft by saying that George Pickens will play on his fifth-year option. They have not had a good run of players with the same agent who they have given ultimatums to. The Los Angeles Rams made some picks that were considered stretches, but they identified a talent that fits their strategic plan and made the pick. Set aside that this is a draft and there is an order. They made picks based on what they need for their vision of their franchise. Forget the framework and dogma the media puts on the event. They secured what they need. I have never been a fan of media judging teams based on how they drafted against the outlets' mock drafts. For my Philadelphia Eagles, this draft has been impactful and I like the moves Howie has done once again, even though it all but solidifies that I.J. Brown will be heading to another team. Securing Makai Lemon to add to the talent that Howie has added was something I am excited about. Some fans are not seeing the strategic side of the pick. Lemon may not have the exact same measurables as Brown. They are different players and body types, but he is a highly talented receiver that adds a lot to the overall receiver room. Hollywood Brown and Wicks are both sizable talents. Having another receiver that separates, competes for the ball, and is versatile makes us more dynamic and unpredictable. Like my fellow fans, I am hopeful that our new offensive philosophy will make us more versatile and allow players to succeed with scheme, not just overall talent. One of the problems last year was that if Brown or Smitty were doubled or simply did not win against a highly talented defense on the other side, there were not options for Hurts to throw the ball too safely. I like that we added to our line with a massive talent in Bell. We should add to our lines each year in my opinion, and we will have to see how well it works with the new offensive line coach. He has big shoes to fill and hopefully he can maintain the quality we have enjoyed under Stout. We do not know how long we have Lane and Landon, so getting potential replacements in the rotation is important. Also, there is no telling how long Dallas Goedert will continue taking team-friendly deals to stay in Philly. At the very least, we added talent to help the position, which hopefully will make us a more dynamic tight end duo again. When we have two pass-catching tight ends, we tend to do well. So, I am hopeful. The biggest moment again was a draft trade, where we secured help on our defensive line with securing Grenard from Minnesota for 2 third-round picks this year and next year's. That will help our line out and hopefully we get a more consistent rush to go along with our all-pro secondary and new cornerback. Our defense has the potential to once again be a beast, despite losing the talent we did this offseason. This offseason and draft has made me hopeful for next season that we will be positioned to be in contention once again. Unfortunately, we will say goodbye to I.J. Brown. But that is life in sports. We had to see Reed, Dean, and Phillips go. And we have replaced them all. Wish them all the best.
In closing, please remember to value yourself as a person, professional, and key member of our community. Please try to find value in your economic decisions and maximize your financial state. Know the values that you want to support and whether the people you cast ballots for reflect those values. And know whether your favorite sports teams properly value talent and position themselves in the best possible manner for you to experience a parade in February. Thank you for experiencing this episode of the Christopher Peter Review. Your viewership is appreciated and valued. Please follow the Christopher Peter Review on social media and continue to visit www.crcreview.com for new episodes. Thank you once again. Until next time.
Thank you for experiencing the Christopher Peter Review. Your source for an economic perspective that is completely objective.